my mom, my biological mother, is a foster parent, and she's been doing foster care for over 21 years. So before I was born, and I was I grew up with foster children um, of all ages, around my age, older, teens, at any point in my life. And, compassion is something that really comes natural to me. You know, when you think about another child calling your biological mom, or, that's my parent, it's like you probably think that it was really awkward, or you'd probably feel uncomfortable. But for me, it's like that's how I grew up. It's like it's no difference to me. And often when children come in my house, it's I treat them with respect, and I want to let them know that they're family to me. Family it's a huge thing. I love my family dearly, and anyone who comes in my house is considered family to me. Anyone who's close to me is considered family. My friends at school, I go to an all-male school, so all my friends there, everyone there, I call them my brothers. I don't call them my friends. So family it's huge to me, and it's something that everyone needs in their lives, and yeah.
I had just learned nonviolent communication based on the work by Dr. Marshall B. Rosenberg. I wasn't very strong in that practice, but I knew something about it. I was visiting my mother, who lived in a community of elders. She had already left the lunch table, and I was at this table where some new people sat down. Next to me was a man I didn't know, and he asked if I was her daughter. I said yes. He said, "You're one of those peacenik people, aren't you?" I said, "Well, I try to teach people how to communicate in peace." He said, "Well, I don't agree with all that. When people I've seen these people go marching and then they say they're for peace and they break windows and they do these violent things." So I took a deep breath and I said, "So you'd really like to see people walk their talk, that if they talk about peace, you'd like to see them be actually people?" He said, "That's right." He said, "I'd like to see that. And you know what else?" I said, "What else?" "Well, I think they should have dropped that bomb in Hiroshima." I inside just like plummeted. I just could not believe it, but I didn't. I breathed again. And I said, "So you really thought that the bomb should have been dropped on Hiroshima?" "That's right," he said. "I was a military man, and I was in charge of a troop of 20 young men. They were very young," he said, "and if they hadn't dropped that bomb, I would have sent them to their deaths." Now I really felt compassion for this person who had this awesome responsibility. And I said, "Wow, that's a big responsibility you had in your hands, that the life or death of 20 young men." "That's right," he said. "It was really hard." And then he paused and he said, "War is terrible, isn't it? The bomb was a terrible thing. I wish we didn't have to do that." And I said, "I wish we didn't either." And he said, "What is it that you do?" And I said, "Well, I do my best to help people listen to each other and speak in compassion and work for peace." And he said, "That way," he said, "keep up the good work."
I was asked to go to a gentleman's home who was an alcoholic. And I told my supervisor, I said, "Oh, I can't possibly do that because my father was an alcoholic and it's hard for me to talk to people, especially an older man." And she said, "Well, he's in your area. You're assigned to him." So I said, "Okay." So I went out, and the first time I met him, he was drinking. And I thought, "Oh no, how can I do this? And I'm just going to have to be." He lived on an inlet on a bay, and his house was pretty messy, but he had a love of nature. And so we started talking about his love of nature and where he lived, and I started relaxing into myself a little bit more. And we had a nice talk, our first visit. I didn't think that he would let me come back because the hospice staff had told me, or the home health staff had told me that he wasn't very friendly. But he seemed to want to talk to me. And he did say it was okay for me to come back. And so I must have seen him maybe 5 or 6 times before he was taken off of home health. And what I found was that in meeting with him, I had to turn off a lot of judgment. I had to go to a deeper place in myself to find some tiny bit of relating to him in a healthy way. So I listened. And that's what he needed, because people didn't listen to him much anymore. And that's what I did, I listened. And he would make tea for me. And, he offered me a drink the first time we were there. Well, no, okay. So I drank my tea and I listened to him, and I would throw in some words of comfort or care or whatever I thought was insightful for this gentleman. And I really came to love him. I still get a lump in my throat. And that's because he brought out that compassion in me that I could so easily give other people, but I had made a fence around. He is kind of people. And so in those 6 or 8 visits, I grew. And he grew to care, that I was there. He wasn't so grouchy. And so he was a teacher for me.
While I was in school at Evergreen of Tacoma, I met a gentleman there who was another veteran, and he was going through his GI Bill. And he started having some hardships, and we became friends just talking, through school, because we had the commonality of both being in the service. But then he was telling me of some of the problems that he had, and he had 2 small children. Their ages were about 8 and 10. And he had to move out of his house. He was living with a girl, and the situation just changed, so where he had to leave. And he felt that he wasn't welcome there. And I asked him, well, what are you going to do? And he said, I'm not sure. And I was like, well, where are you going to stay? And he's like, I'm not sure. It's like, well, don't you have 2 small kids? And I'd met his daughter already. And he's like, yes. And he says, I don't know, I'll get a hotel room until the money runs out. And I just told him, I said, you can't do that. I said, your kids have to have a place to stay. You have to have a place to stay. He's like, well, I don't know, how long I'm going to be homeless. It's like, well, that's not what I'm asking you. I'm just saying, if you don't have any place to go, then you should come here. And he's like, well, I can't just bring my kids. And I was like, why not? I was like, it was very difficult for him to accept my generosity in the sense, and I told him, I'm not just being generous. I said, when I give to you, you have to understand. I'm not giving it to you. I said, I'm really giving it to myself. I said, we're all connected. I said, and if I'm giving something to you, it's no loss to me. I said, it's a gain, actually, because I'm helping myself see life differently. So I said, by your accepting my gift, I said, you're giving back to me. I said, so please come stay in my home. I said, I would be saddened to know that you are living in your car with 2 small children. I said, granted, I can't bring everybody into my home. I know there's a lot of homeless people out there. I said, but we've developed a little bit of a relationship. I said, I trust you. I said, and your kids need some place to be. I said, so come to my home. And he did. And we developed a really nice relationship. We kind of adopted his children as our grandchildren. And it's been a wonderful experience. And I think it's helped him see things a little differently. He has a hard time because he's had a lot of problems in his life. I mean, he comes from a broken home himself. And But one of the things that was nice is while he was there, we got a lot of opportunities to talk on a deeper level. And so I would try to explain to him that the main thing he had to change first was his thought system. I said, you see yourself in lack. I said, you see yourself as having these needs that aren't being fulfilled, and you can't see where where it's going to work itself out. I said, you have to change your thought system first, because as long as you see yourself as a victim, I said, you're going to be a victim. I said, when you see that, God provides for everything, then things will start coming to you. I said, just like me. I said, I came into your life, I said, for whatever reason. I said, you didn't know that this was going to happen. You didn't know that, I would offer my home to you. I said, but that's just the way it works. I said, that's how the universe works. And I think it's been a great experience for both of us, because, like I said, I've had a chance to grow and learn some things from him, and he's learned things from me also. So it's been a wonderful opportunity.
I quit my job in Seattle and just there was something compelling was happening in my life. Was whether to decide to leave or to go was Palestine, because I was in correspondence with the University of El Niger in Nablus. I fell in love with what I was reading, and somebody said, if you want to see what's happening here, please come. That please come made it like a mantra in my bothering me, and I quit my job with a backpack and a suitcase and some gifts, and with a mission in that time was a mission in my mind. I'm going to see what part of the world they're talking about. And that was the biggest transformation I ever got. So if I choke, please do forgive me for it, because I'm very attached to it. The love which freely flows in street of West Bank, Nablus, Salfith, Hebron, Beline protest, which I'm part of it, with so many young youth, adult, old, didn't matter, were walking along with me. I knew I'm in a world of compassion. The only word they know is love and compassion for freedom, compassion to reach out to other worlds, to see, come and see us. Don't shut us out. And that made me a stronger person, and I knew what I have to be. So ever since that time, my love, which we call compassion, for me it's a love. I'm going to share the love which my parents gave, His Holiness gave, and my friends surrounded every day in my path, my walk of life, my children, my family, my friends, they give me that. They keep filling my cup. And the cup is so beautifully filled, and I want to reach out to everyone and enjoy this, because there's no place like that where we are here. So I'm home. I'm home. That's my story.